Hi, I'm Jeff from New York. Please like and subscribe.
Episode 70, The Big Bill.
Steve, do you see that woman? She's a business partner for our family. I've lost face badly in front of her just now. If you help me save face, I'll hand her over to you.
Teresa whispered into his ear. Steve walked up to manager Kim. The manager was much more relaxed now. Originally, he was afraid that Teresa would call Jeff to come over, but it turned out to be Steve. Manager Kim scolded him in his heart. Last time, Steve had felt good about himself and had made manager Kim think that he had been Jeff's friend. Later, manager Kim had investigated it and found out that this was not the case at all.
This is my daughter's boyfriend. He'll solve this for you. Marie, you can relax now, right?
Teresa said with a smile. Marie greeted Steve by nodding her head.
Manager Kim, now that I'm here, let's just forget about this matter.
Steve said to the manager with a smile. He had felt that the moment he had appeared, manager Kim's attitude would be softened.
Forget it. You must be joking.
Manager Kim laughed coldly.
Since you're here, then you can please settle the bill quickly.
What's going on with Manager Kim today? It wasn't like this the last time. Could it be that he doesn't remember me after a week?
Thought Steve.
Manager Kim, don't you remember me? I'm Steve. My dad's company is the Phillips Construction Company.
Steve said.
Oh.
Manager Kim had a look of realization on his face.
It's good that you remember. The misunderstanding has been resolved. I'll remember your good intentions today. Don't worry. I'll visit you often in the future.
Steve said with a smile. He then turned to Teresa.
We can leave now.
Steve was about to leave with Teresa and the others who were praising him.
Stop.
Manager Kim cried out.
What the hell do you mean that the misunderstanding is resolved? When did I let you go?
You don't need to send us off. We can just leave by ourselves.
Steve said with a smile.
What the heck? Just how narcissistic is this fellow?
Manager Kim thought as he grabbed Steve's shoulder forcefully.
Ouch! What are you doing?
Exclaimed Steve.
You can't leave until you've paid the bill. If you continue playing tricks on me, I'll call the police.
Manager Kim said angrily.
Manager Kim, you didn't take the wrong medicine today, did you? Aren't you mistaken? I'm Steve, and you still want me to pay?
He asked in surprise.
I don't care who pays. I'll hand you over to the police if you don't pay today.
Manager Kim said. He became more and more annoyed as he looked at Teresa and the others.
Are you going to pay the bill or not? Or don't you want to pay the bill? It seems like these perverts want to go back on their word.
Manager Kim thought as he took out his phone and was about to call the police. Teresa and the others were dumbfounded. Marie, who was standing to the side, also turned red. In such a high-end restaurant, she felt extremely humiliated and embarrassed.
Don't call the police. I'll pay their bill for them.
Steve said as he glared at the manager. He still didn't understand why the man had changed so much.
Okay, it's good that someone is paying.
Manager Kim said as he took the bill from the waiter and gave it to Steve.
It's $17,630 in total, so you can just give me $17,000.
17,000?
Steve was so shocked that his tonsils almost flew out. He quickly looked at the bill. It was very detailed. Just one bottle of Louis XIV was worth more than $6,000, so it was not surprising that the bill was so much money. Steve gritted his teeth as he glanced at Teresa and cursed in his heart.
You dim-wit, you know how to enjoy yourself. You dared to drink red wine worth $6,000. Weren't you afraid of getting drunk to death?
He thought. Teresa's heart trembled when she heard the price of $17,000. She saw Marie glanced at her speechlessly. Teresa smiled coyly in embarrassment and said,
Don't worry, I'll settle this matter.
Marie snorted and turned her head away. Teresa walked up to Steve and asked uncertainly,
No problem, right?
Yup.
Steve was full of anger, but it was still on him to pay. He looked at Teresa and wanted to give her a good scolding, but she was Andrea's mother after all. He was just a student with a bit of money, and $17,000 was hardly a small sum.
Sir, all the money you have here on your credit cards in addition to the cash is $12,000. There's still $5,000 left to pay. How will you pay for the rest?
The hostess politely said as she handed all his credit cards back to Steve.
What? My cards only have that much money.
Steve was very surprised, as he did not normally pay attention to his balance. With a glance at the hostess's computer, he knew that it was indeed the case. Right now he didn't dare to ask for money from his family, so he could only cast a pleading gaze at Teresa. She came to New York for fun, so she must have some money with her.
Teresa, there's still about $5,000 left. Why don't you put it on your card?
Steve said quietly, but he wasn't particularly embarrassed. After all, he had already paid most of the bill.
To
be honest, $5,000 wasn't a huge sum for Teresa. However, she had already spent a huge amount of money in the past few days. If she spent another $5,000, her husband would definitely suspect that she might have found a male escort. Steve's face turned extremely ugly when she didn't say anything in response.
Hell, you dare to order such expensive dishes without money?
He thought.
What about the two aunties?
Steve's eyes shifted toward Glenda and Rosalie.
They don't have any money on them either.
Teresa said awkwardly. She was worried too, as her gaze locked onto Marie. Wasn't Marie the only one who currently had money? The surrounding customers began to make comments. Hey, how dare you come to Buddy's restaurant without money? You're all crazy, said one.
These country bumpkins are really something. Do they really think that the fancy restaurants in New York are as cheap as those in the countryside?
Said another.
Where did they get the courage to eat in a Supreme Room? I think they wanted to eat for free from the very beginning,
exclaimed another. The customers that were eating nearby all looked at Teresa and the others with a smirk as they whispered to each other.
Marie, we don't have enough money right now.
Look.
Teresa walked up to Marie with a stiff smile. When Marie heard Teresa asking her for money, the anger in her heart surged.
You really treated me to a good meal,
Marie said with a sneer. Then she snorted and walked up to the hostess. She handed over her credit card and swiped the remaining $5,000. After she was done, Marie covered her face with her hands and walked quickly toward the door. She felt that it was too embarrassing for her to remain in there.
Marie, wait for me. Leave me your number and I'll return the money to you,
Teresa said loudly.
Ha, there's no need.
Marie turned her head and looked at Teresa with a cold smile.
I must be really out of my mind today. That's why I came to eat with you. Goodbye.
Don't be like this. Today was an accident. I'll find another time to meet up with you and we'll talk about the partnership.
Teresa was afraid that this would affect their future business dealings.
Partnership? I don't think the hospital needs that kind of luck. You should find someone else to work with you instead,
Marie said as she waved her hand to get a taxi, climbed in and left. Hearing Marie's words, Teresa knew that her family's business had failed. Her heart felt like it was being frozen in an ice house. Glenda and Rosalie also blamed themselves.
Don't be too sad. Should I take you back now?
Steve looked at Teresa's sad expression and felt that she had deserved it. If she didn't have the money, then she shouldn't have eaten at such an expensive restaurant. Now her business had failed, and she even made him make a fool of himself in front of so many people.
No need. We'll take a taxi back. I still have to thank you for today, Steve,
Teresa said dejectedly. She then got to a taxi and went back to the hotel with her sisters. When they arrived at the Secret Garden guest house, Teresa went to her room to rest. That day, her business deal had failed and she had suffered such a huge humiliation. At 6 o'clock in the evening, Teresa, Glenda, and the others gathered again to go have a meal, but they were no longer in the mood to go out to eat. As they walked past the front desk, the receptionist politely reminded them.
I'm sorry to bother you, but the time of your stay will end tomorrow at noon. Please vacate your rooms before noon.
It's finished?
Teresa discussed the situation with Glenda and Rosalie. Although the hotel was a bungalow and not their ideal luxury hotel, it was still quite comfortable and they still wanted to stay for 2 more days.
Can we stay in the room longer?
Teresa asked.
My apologies, but you can't stay in the room. Please forgive us,
the receptionist politely said.
We can't stay in the room. Did I hear that wrong? Why not? Are there any other available rooms in the guest house?
Teresa asked in surprise.
I'm sorry. If you want a new room, then you'll need Mr. Florento to get a room for you,
the receptionist said with difficulty.
We still need him.
Teresa had no intention of bowing down to Jeff.
The rules in this hotel are quite odd. No wonder it's going to close soon.
She thought.
Fine, we'll leave tomorrow.
In the worst case, Jeff could just find them another hotel in the city.
Are you going to dinner?
Isabel walked out and greeted Teresa and the others.
We've had such great meals out these past few days that I can't eat much of anything anymore, so I'll go with you.
Teresa said as she followed Isabel to the courtyard.
This place is pretty nice.
Teresa and her sisters praised the decor. This time they were grateful for all the free food, so they ordered a few dishes without worry.
I didn't expect the food here to be so delicious.
Teresa said. She and the others felt that this was the most delectable meal they had ever eaten in New York. It was even more delicious than the one they had eaten at Buddy's restaurant. Their table was filled with expensive delicacies, such as abalone and lobster. They felt a little regret that they hadn't eaten at their hotel in the past few days. However, they comforted themselves with the thought that there was still a gap between the meals at their hotel and those at Buddy's. After all, Buddy's restaurant's food was imported from various countries and could be transported from the port within 3 hours. August 2023. Top Super Thanks purchasers. Thank you so much.